Hello and welcome. You're watching The Buck Stops here and I'm Barkha Dutt. On the program this evening, well, Rahul Gandhi's first speech as Vice President of the Congress Party has been repeatedly deconstructed, analysed, critiqued, praised. Many different descriptives have been used for it, including asking whether his speech and his new role will prove to be a game changer for the Congress Party. But on the Buck Stops here today, we pick up one aspect of what Rahul Gandhi said. Rahul Gandhi spoke about power being grossly centralised, about a few people behind closed doors deciding for the people of India, and this being the problem with the political culture in India. How does he reconcile this with the problem of dynasty, with the fact that dynasty has come to plague Indian politics? The Congress Party, of course, he himself has been charged with that criticism and India's political culture in general.
The voices of 1 billion Indians are today telling us that they want a greater say in government, in politics and administration. They are telling us that the course of their lives cannot be decided by a handful of people behind closed doors who are not fully accountable to them. The time has come to question the centralized, unresponsive and unaccountable systems of decision-making in governance, administration and politics. The answer, a lot of people say, we need to run these systems better. The answer is not in running these systems better. The answer is to completely transform these systems. हमें 40-50 नेता तैयार करने हैं जो देश को चला सके, सिर्फ प्रदेश को नहीं, देश को चला सके.
So has India's tryst with destiny become India's tryst with dynasty? Are political doors closed for the Aam Aadmi and Aam Aurat who may be interested in stepping into politics? Can Indian politics ever be rid of nepotism? Can India's political culture ever be driven by merit? So Rahul Gandhi's emotional, candid and mostly well-received speech as Vice President of the Congress Party spoke about changing the political system from inside, acknowledging that at the moment the anger among young people is also because power in India, power that can be poison according to him, is wielded by too few people behind closed doors. But isn't there a paradox here? The paradox being that if the political culture of India is driven by dynasty, then how can this culture ever change? Do Indians love dynasty, or can there be a moment when there will be space for outsiders? Let's introduce our panel this evening. Joining us, Sachin Pilot. He's, of course, a Union Minister for Corporate Affairs. Also joining us, Senior Leader of the BJP and the party spokesperson, Rajiv Pratap Rudy. Joining me tonight is Patrick French. He's a well-known author and commentator, particularly relevant in this context because his book, India, a Portrait, looks at some very compelling statistics on why Indians love dynasty in politics. And also joining me from Mumbai tonight is columnist and commentator and advertising guru Santosh Desai. Sachin, if I may start with you. Rahul Gandhi's speech was not the sort of speech that anybody could find anything to disagree with. It had some high emotional moments. He spoke about his family, the assassination of his grandmother, his mother warning him that power can be poison, and he readily admitted that a lot of the current cynicism with politics is because politics is seen to be a closed circle of influence. Now, you know that the automatic criticism here will be that the Congress Party itself represents the same culture that Rahul Gandhi was damning, and that Rahul Gandhi himself represents an example of a closed circle, of a dynastic circle, because power in the Congress Party has mostly run through one generation of the Gandhi family to the other. So isn't there a paradox in an otherwise generally well-received speech?
But I don't think it's paradoxical in the sense that there is acceptance and acknowledgement of the fact that power needs to be decentralized, and not just within a political organization, but in governments, whether it's state government or central government. And I think he was referring more to the decisions of the people in state capitals and the national capital deciding on the developmental projects, the priorities, the allocations and programs that are being made for the country. Therefore, the people at the block level or the panchayat level need to have a greater say. And within organizations also, you have to agree that in the last 5 or 7 years, the kinds of change he's brought about in the organization he was in charge of, the Youth Congress, for example, has given hope to people who perhaps have had no inclination or association with political life. That's something I hope that will transform into other areas of our political landscape, including the Congress Party. So this was, I think, something that everyone knows, and you can say that there is family politics and people from the same family coming into government and political parties, but none of us are, I mean, at least people in the Congress Party, most of us are not someone who's just been picked out and been put somewhere. We've had to fight elections, face, and let's not forget, Barkha, that the bar is always high for people who come from political families, because you have to perform at least as well as your father, mother, uncle, auntie or grandfather, or better. People have preconceived expectations and notions about who you are and how you will perform, and quite frankly, if you don't perform, you will be booted out. I mean, there's no reason to believe that you will be accepted and be, carried on your shoulders when you are not working or not being able to live up to expectations of the people.
Yeah, but you say that Rahul Gandhi was speaking more about how power is wielded, for example, within governments. But he did invoke Mahatma Gandhi. He spoke about how there was a time when you could look around at the Congress's leadership and there were at least dozens of people who you could think of running the country. And that the challenge before the Congress today was to again create 30 to 40 leaders like that. How do you explain the fact that the Congress has, as Patrick's book actually shows, the highest number of what are called hereditary members of parliament? And what's odd is that as the generation or the age gets younger and younger, and this is a staggering figure, 100% of Indian members of parliament under the age of 30 are hereditary, in the sense that they have inherited their politics. And you know that the BJP has looked at Rahul Gandhi's speech and said it represents the politics of inheritance and not the politics of performance. So how do you counter this?
But what are you inheriting? You're inheriting a name, a last name, and a background. You're not inheriting success in election. You're not inheriting victory by 2 million people who vote for you eventually. So it's not that you're mandating the people to vote only for you. You have a name, and quite frankly, I think the way you're projecting it, I'm actually quite proud of the family I belong to, and I feel no reason that I should or someone else should be disqualified because he or she has taken birth in a family that has politicians in it. I think it's a democratic country. If anybody has the interest and inclination, and more importantly, the talent to deliver on a public platform by getting elected, he or she should come forward. But it should not be confined only to people, who have access to political families. Therefore, you will see at the Zilla Parishad level, at the MLA level, and now many of my colleagues in Parliament are people who have had no connection with politics. But it can't be either or. I mean, if people are willing to accept you 1, 2, 3, 4 elections in a row, then you must be doing something in that constituency for people to elect you. But I agree with you that in the beginning, certainly, Barkha, let's not be, I'll be candid about it. When you enter for the first time, it helps you, gives you a leg up, it gets you your foot in the door. But then you have to perform after that. I mean, after that, you're on your own. And like I said, you're always compared, the bar is always very high.
India's #1 news app just got even better. Download NDTV's new app. Fully optimized for Retina display. Full screen view. Faster response time. And Sudoku. NDTV's new iPad app. Download now.